So picture this. You're a bird. You're just vibing, eating some seeds, chirping your little heart out, living your best feathered life. And then one day, a bunch of owls show up, declare themselves the smartest birds in the kingdom, form a government, and immediately start robbing you blind. Oh, and they pass a law that says you can't even go outside at night anymore. Why? Because they said so. Welcome to the most savage political allegory you'll read this year. Buckle up, because today we're diving into a story about corruption, propaganda, bird politics, and one tiny fire-finch who said, "Enough is enough." This is going to get wild. All right, so we're in this bird kingdom, right? And let me tell you, things are not going well. Our story kicks off at sunset with this weaver bird named Osogo. Osogo's out here playing his flute, but he's not playing happy tunes. No, no, no. He's mourning. Why? Because 33 of his fellow weaver birds just got massacred. 33. That's not a minor incident. That's a genocide. So Osogo's sitting there, processing this trauma, when this owl named Redstring rolls up. And Redstring is basically that person who shows up to your tragedy and tells you to just get over it, while simultaneously defending the people who caused it. He's like, "Oh, you think you have rights? You think you matter?" Newsflash, buddy. Owls run this place. We're smarter, we're better, and you need to know your place. Can you imagine the audacity? But wait, it gets better. Enter Telltale, this absolute legend of a woodpecker. Telltale shows up and immediately tells Redstring to kick rocks. She's like, "I'm not spreading your propaganda. I'm not promoting your garbage laws. Do it yourself." And what's this garbage law, you ask? It's called the Moonlight Bill. The Moonlight Bill literally says that if you're not an owl, you can't go outside at night. Let that sink in. These owls really said, "The night belongs to us, peasants stay inside." It's like if your landlord told you that you can only use the kitchen during business hours. Absolutely unhinged behavior. So Act 1 ends with Redstring and his buddy Aram Titi plotting more oppressive laws, while Osogo and the other birds are resisting through song and protest. The battle lines have been drawn. Now let me introduce you to the worst friend group in literary history. At the top, we have King Tula Nyongoro. This is the Owl King, the big boss, the head honcho. And let me tell you, absolute power corrupted this bird fast. Like speedrun corruption any percent. He started out and immediately said, "You know what? I deserve everything. The trees, mine. The resources, mine. Democracy? Never heard of her." His best friend is an owl named Moneybags. And yes, that's literally his name, Moneybags. Because subtlety is dead, and this book danced on its grave. Moneybags is exactly what you think he is. Greedy, corrupt, and grabbing every tree and resource he can get his talons on. He's basically running a real estate scam in the bird kingdom, and nobody can stop him because he's boys with the king. But wait, there's more. Moneybags is sponsoring this owl called Socialite Owl. And Socialite Owl has a position in the Parliament of Owls, which sounds official and important, except she's using it to pass the most ridiculous laws imaginable. We're talking laws that only benefit owls. Laws that make no sense. Laws that exist purely to keep the owls rich and powerful while everyone else suffers. The Parliament of Owls has essentially become a rubber stamp factory. Bills get rushed through faster than you can say conflict of interest. And if anyone tries to speak up, like Iron Lady Owl, who we'll talk about in a second, they get shut down immediately. Dissent is not allowed in this bird kingdom. It's basically an oligarchy with feathers. The irony here is delicious, by the way. Owls are supposed to be wise, right? They're supposed to represent knowledge and justice. But these owls are corrupt, greedy, manipulative dictators. It's like if a bunch of scholars formed a government and immediately started embezzling money and passing laws to make embezzlement legal. Remember Aram Titi, the propaganda owl from Act 1? Well, this guy has been working overtime spreading lies, manipulating public opinion, and enforcing these terrible laws. He's basically the kingdom's minister of misinformation, and the birds hate him for it. But then, Aramtidi dies. Now, the book doesn't give us all the details, but honestly, the details don't matter. What matters is that when the chief propagandist kicks the bucket, everything changes. It's like the birds collectively realize, oh wait, we don't have to listen to this nonsense anymore. Osogo and Telltale show up to his grave, which is honestly more respect than I would have given him. And they're mourning, but it's complicated mourning. It's that I'm sad someone died, but also this person made my life miserable kind of mourning. Meanwhile, the crows and grain eaters and all the other birds are looking around like, is this our moment? Is this when we fight back? And spoiler alert, yes. Yes, it is. The death of Aramtidi becomes this catalyst. It's the moment when the resistance realizes they actually have a shot. The propaganda machine is broken. The owls are vulnerable. It's time to organize.
It just got interesting!
This is where things get good. Enter Oyundi the fire-finch. Now, fire-finches are small birds. They're not intimidating. They're not powerful. But Oyundi is a mastermind. This bird has been watching, learning, strategizing, and now he's ready to lead a revolution. Oyundi sets up a rebel base under the royal trees and starts holding strategic meetings. He's bringing together crows, grain eaters, omnivores, and even some dissident owls. Yes, owls. Because not all owls are corrupt. Some of them looked around at the parliament and said, "This is embarrassing, I want no part of this." The leader of these good owls is Iron Lady Owl. Remember her? She's been speaking up against the corruption from the beginning, getting silenced, but never giving up. Now she's joining forces with Oyundi and the other birds to form something new, the flock of birds. The flock of birds is essentially the resistance movement. It's diverse, it's inclusive, and it's united by one goal: take down the Parliament of Owls and create a government that actually represents everyone. But here's the kicker. Oyundi discovers something huge. Hidden in the royal trees is something called the golden bead. And this golden bead, it's the source of the owl's power. It manipulates perception. It controls the narrative. It's basically the bird kingdom's version of propaganda technology, and the owls have been using it this whole time to maintain their grip on power. So now Oyundi knows the secret. He knows how the owls have been controlling everything, and he has a plan. Can we just appreciate that the hero of this story is a tiny firefinch? Not an eagle, not a hawk, a firefinch. It's like if the resistance in Star Wars was led by an Ewok. I love it. This is it. The final act. The showdown. Oyundi puts his plan into motion. The flock of birds mobilizes. They've got unity, they've got strategy, and they've got the truth about the golden bead. The owls are about to get absolutely rinsed. And honestly, the revolution works. Oyundi's strategic maneuvers pay off. The corrupt regime of King Tula Nyongoro, Moneybags Owl, Socialite Owl, and all the other terrible owls collapses. Justice is restored. The oppressive laws are overturned. The bird kingdom is free. In place of the Parliament of Owls, they establish the flock of birds, a new government that's actually diverse and inclusive. All birds have a voice. All birds have representation. It's democracy, baby. Actual functional democracy. The story ends with Osogo playing his flute again. But this time, it's different. It's a reminder of everything they've been through. It's a reminder of the cost of freedom, those 33 weaver birds who died in the massacre. And it's a reminder that they need to stay vigilant, because freedom requires constant protection. You can't just win it once and assume it's safe forever. This masterpiece of political satire is called A Parliament of Owls, a play by Adipo Sidang. Yes, it's structured as a 5-act play, but honestly, it reads like the most brutal takedown of political corruption you'll ever experience. And we need to talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about why this book is absolutely genius. First of all, the allegory is not subtle, and that's exactly the point. Adipo Sidang is not here to be subtle. He's here to hold up a mirror to African politics, specifically Kenyan politics, and say, look at this. Look at what's happening. The owls represent the ruling elite. They claim to be wise. They claim to be superior. They claim to have everyone's best interests at heart. But what do they actually do? They enrich themselves. They pass laws that benefit them and harm everyone else. They suppress dissent. They use propaganda to control the narrative. They create divisions to maintain power. Sound familiar? Because it should. This isn't just about Kenya. This is about political systems everywhere that prioritize power and wealth over people. Can we talk about how brilliant it is that owls are the villains? In most cultures, owls represent wisdom and knowledge. But in many African cultures, owls are considered bad omens. They're associated with darkness and misfortune. So Sidang is playing with these dual meanings. He's saying, yes, these leaders present themselves as wise, but they're actually harbingers of destruction. And a group of owls is literally called a parliament. So when you have a parliament of owls, you're already setting up this expectation of governance. But it's governance by creatures of ill omen. The title alone tells you everything you need to know about this government. The golden bead is another fascinating symbol. It represents how those in power manipulate truth and perception. It's propaganda, it's media control, it's narrative manipulation. The fact that it's hidden in the royal trees, the seat of power, shows that deception is built into the foundation of this regime. Every character serves a purpose, and they're all recognizable as real-world archetypes. King Tula Nyongoro is the dictator who's corrupted by power. He's every leader who started with promises and ended with tyranny. Moneybags Owl is the oligarch, the businessman who's in bed with the government, exploiting resources for personal gain while the people suffer. Socialite Owl represents those who use their positions for frivolous purposes, passing meaningless laws while real problems go unsolved. She's all style, no substance. Red String Owl is the sycophant, the yes man who has no principles of his own. He just parrots whatever the regime tells him to say. He's propaganda personified. Aramtiti is the spin doctor, the minister of misinformation, the person who makes lies sound like truth. On the resistance side, Iron Lady Owl is the internal reformer, the person who speaks truth to power even when it costs them. She represents the courage to stand against your own tribe when they're wrong. Oyundi the fire-finch is absolutely brilliant as the revolutionary leader. The fact that he's small and underestimated makes his victory even more powerful. He represents the idea that leadership doesn't come from size or status. It comes from intelligence, strategy, and moral clarity. Osogo the weaver bird is the artist, the mourner, the witness. He represents those who document injustice through art and keep the memory of suffering alive. Telltale, the woodpecker, is the person who just refuses to comply. She's the one who says no when everyone else is going along with injustice. This book tackles so many important themes: corruption and abuse of power, how those in authority exploit their positions for personal gain, the danger of propaganda, how controlling information allows dictators to maintain power, the importance of resistance, how ordinary people can organize against oppression, unity across differences, how diverse groups can come together for a common cause, the power of truth, how exposing lies can topple regimes, and of course, the cost of freedom, how liberation requires sacrifice and constant vigilance. These aren't just abstract concepts. These are lived realities for millions of people around the world. Sidang is writing about real political dynamics, real oppression, real resistance. Here's what really gets me. This book doesn't pull punches. It doesn't hedge. It doesn't say, well, maybe both sides have a point. It says, clearly and unambiguously, that corruption is bad, that dictatorship is wrong, that the people have the right to resist oppression. In an era where so much political discourse is wishy-washy and afraid to take a stand, Sidang just comes out swinging. He's not worried about offending the powerful. He's worried about telling the truth. And he does it through this brilliant animal allegory that makes the medicine go down easier. Because if he wrote a straight political treatise about corruption in African governments, a lot of people wouldn't read it. But wrap it in a story about birds, suddenly you've got students reading it in schools. You've got theater groups performing it. You've got people discussing it who might never pick up a political science book. That's the power of literature. That's the power of satire. It sneaks past your defenses and makes you think. Adipo Sidang is a Kenyan writer, and A Parliament of Owls is part of a tradition of African political satire that includes writers like Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Chinua Achebe, and Wole Soyinka. These are writers who use literature as a weapon against injustice. What I appreciate about Sidang's approach is that he's not just criticizing, he's also offering hope. Yes, the corruption is real and the oppression is brutal, but the resistance is also real. Change is possible. Small, marginalized voices can make a difference. Unity and truth can overcome propaganda and division. The book is 288 pages, and it's structured as a 5-act play, which makes it perfect for performance. And honestly, I think this story works even better when performed. Imagine seeing these characters come to life on stage, seeing the corruption and the resistance play out in front of you. It would be powerful. Look, A Parliament of Owls is not a comfortable read. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to make you angry. It's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to make you ask questions about power, about justice, about what you would do if you lived in an oppressive system. Would you be Red String, going along with injustice? Would you be Telltale, refusing to comply? Would you be Oyundi, organizing resistance? Or would you be Osogo, documenting everything and keeping the memory alive? These are important questions, and this book forces you to confront them. If you're a student studying this as a set book, my advice is this: don't just read it for the plot. Dig into the symbolism. Think about what each character represents. Consider how the themes apply to the real world. This book is a masterclass in political allegory, and there's so much to learn from it. If you're just a reader looking for something powerful and thought-provoking, I can't recommend this enough. It's sharp, it's bold, it's uncompromising, and it's ultimately hopeful. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, resistance is possible. Justice is possible. Change is possible. So yeah, that's A Parliament of Owls by Adipo Sidang. A book about birds that's really about us. A story about corruption that's really about hope. A play about one kingdom that's really about every kingdom. Go read it, get angry, get inspired, and maybe, just maybe, be a fire-finch in your own world. If you enjoyed this review, smash that like button, subscribe for more book content, and let me know in the comments. Which character from this book do you relate to most? Are you an Oyundi, a Telltale, an Iron Lady, or an Osogo? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.